Hi, I'm Travis Brown. I'm the general manager at Titan Forge Games.
I'm Ponpon. I'm an advanced game designer at Titan Forge. Work on Smite 2.
And I'm Alex Cantatori. I'm the executive producer of Smite.
Playing past the baton this whole time. Obviously, the big reason why we're here, amazing reveal, that being Smite 2, now on the way. A big question I'm sure a lot of you have already answered in detail, but would love to know some more. What can people expect or look forward to the most when it comes to Smite 2?
You want to take it?
Yeah.
No, you take it.
So I think Smite 2 it's kind of everything that we always dreamed Smite could be, right? Smite is a game that is incredibly fun to play, right? Like the core gameplay combat, the MOBA strategy on top of like this great action combat, like nothing else gives you that same rush. And like I love Smite, I've been playing it since closed beta, so I get really passionate. But there's a lot of rough edges in Smite, right? There's a lot of stuff that feels super clunky. There's a lot of stuff that has just been kind of built on top of over the years, right? So Smite 2 takes that really fun core gameplay and makes it just feel clean and crispy, and then adds a lot more depth for people that really want to get into like the strategy about like what items do I build, or like how do I play this map the most optimally, right? Like it's just a better version of Smite, but it's so much better that it's hard to appreciate until you actually get to try it for yourself. So we're just super excited to finally have it out there.
And if you don't mind, I'm actually going to piggyback off that too. We've seen a few games out there release their second versions, right? Notably CS2 and Overwatch 2, and these games have to come around and decide when is the right time to do so. You guys did so 10 years after the initial release. So what was the main motivation 10 years in to say, hey, let's go with 2?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it started. We're always looking for something different to do with Smite IP. We made all these different game modes throughout Smite's history, and once we kind of figured out that we wanted to make the move to UE5, so a new engine upgrade, we started to quickly iterate through different game modes. And I think about at the end of 2022, so about 13 months ago, we quickly created a new game mode using the Smite IP in about 4 weeks using UE5. And we were like, wow, that was really, really cool. It was quick. We got it done really fast, but it wasn't quite it. So we were like, let's try something different. So because of the work we'd just done in the 4 weeks, we pivoted to some other type of game mode, and we were done in 1 day. And we were like, wow, that was really quick and easy. This is amazing. And we thought, what if we actually just try to recreate Smite in UE5? And we pulled 5 people from the team, and 4 weeks later we had a demo that we're going to show I think tomorrow, basically a playable version of Smite in UE5 in 4 weeks. So we thought at that point, why would we not just dedicate a team to creating Smite 2 and UE5 and as fast as possible, as fast as we were able to do those two game modes? Like it was just a no-brainer to do it. Had nothing to do with, oh, this is year 10, we should do something. No, it was literally like once we got the hands on the new tools and saw how effective we could be, it became clear that we needed to create this experience for the Smite fans.
And if I can just real quick, like the reason why the speed that we can do things in UE5 is so important is because we know that so many people like love a specific god in Smite. And for us to go from Smite to Smite 2 and having to remake every god, it took us 10 years to build them all the first time. If it's going to take us 10 years to build them all again, that was just not going to be something feasible, right? But with these new tools, we can now build the gods quickly. We can give people the Smite experience they want in a time frame that actually makes sense. And it's just really exciting.
And we can actually keep going right off that too. I would love to know, and I'm sure a lot of people would too, what's the biggest difference maker between UE3 and UE5? For a casual like myself, I have no idea, right? So what are the defining factors of making a move like that?
Jump in.
Yeah, so UE3 was made in 2006, so it's a very old tool set, and things like the UI being in Flash, which is a discontinued product, things like designers not having tools to be able to really impact how the game is developed. We have to often go to programmers to do things for us. UE5 basically has a full suite of things for each department built inside of it. So animators traditionally have multiple softwares they work in. UE5 actually puts a lot of that into the engine, and in a way that you can start manipulating it even if you aren't an animator. We have Blueprints, which is a visual-based programming that allows anyone to hop in and start building out things and roughing out prototypes, where before that kind of system only existed in UE3 as Kismet, which was a very, very limited version of that. And so UE5 just supercharges each aspect of game development and makes it so that they're all interconnected within the same toolbox. And that just allows things to speed up way more rapidly than you could in UE3, which was just a mixed match of different softwares depending on what your studio wanted to do.
And just technologically, you're talking about 10 years of improvements on lighting and on graphics processing, things like that we can take advantage of in UE5. So the game just looks like it's a modern game, whereas in Smite, we using UE3, you find that you have to make a lot of concessions to make the game perform. And what we're finding now is we just keep cranking the knobs up on UE5, and it just gets better and better. So we're excited about a lot of the possibilities there. Give people the Smite experience that they remember, but just make it look more amazing is that's what I'm most excited about UE5.
Example. Yeah, when we first actually went to UE5 to build it out, we pulled in assets from UE3 to just see how it looked, because we just need a set of visuals so that we could get our first playtest going. And without any touch from artists or anything, just the model being there with the new lighting, it already looked like a completely different game. And that was the moment crystallized oh, that's how much different it's going to be working within this engine. And once the artists actually get in there to start modifying it, it gets even better. But that just baseline expectation that you get in UE5, that was a huge eye-opener for me, how much better this was going to be.
And then one of the few points of contention, but still a big talking point for these games that have to port over, right, or cross over eventually, when it comes to porting over those skins, you guys decided that you could not do that. Could you guys maybe explain for someone like myself and a casual, what is the difficulty of, or what's the explanation of why that choice was made, and then what's the partial resolve you guys put out?
So Smite's been around for 10 years. We spent 10 years making about 1,600 skins, I think there are in Smite, which is a lot of skins. And UE3 and UE5 are fundamentally different engines. And it's not just, it's a better version. People think that, 3, 4, 5, it must be connected. The way that they approach things technically are completely different. So the way that you create a material, like the texture on a model, the way that the effects system works, everything is completely different. So we can't just copy paste a skin from Smite 1 to Smite 2. For a normal skin, not a tier 5 that is a fancy evolving skin, if you're not familiar with Smite's tier system, which is silly, it takes about 8 weeks to get a skin from Smite 1 to Smite 2 of actual, a person working for 8 weeks. And with 1,600 skins, we did the math, and it was 240 person years or something if we're trying to get all the skins over from Smite 1 to Smite 2. And we were like, geez, if we're trying to do that, we wouldn't have the time and the capability to make Smite 2 as awesome as we knew it could be on the gameplay side, because all of our resources would just be going towards, we got to port all these skins. So we put a lot of thought into how do we make players feel rewarded and we're giving them their money that they spent in Smite 2, but in a way that will let our development team be able to make the amazing game that they really want and have the time to do that. So what we came up with was a system called Legacy Gems and Divine Legacy, where in Legacy Gems, you're going to get every gem that you've ever spent in Smite 2. And gems are the currency that's real money, basically. And you can use those to pay for up to 50% of almost anything in Smite 2 until you've used up your balance. So skins, battle passes, events, everything like that will be 50% off until you've used all of your legacy gems. Some things may be 100% you can use with your legacy gems, but most things will be 50% off. And then there's also a Divine Legacy program where we look at all of your accomplishments, all the things that you've unlocked in Smite and done there, and we carry over a lot of that to Smite 2. So you can see I have a badge that shows I owned Archon Thanatos in Smite 1, which is a really famous skin that people like. Or you can see I had 70 stars on Susano in Smite 1. I played that god a lot, and I want to show that off in Smite 2. So you'll be able to do that. We couldn't move all the skins, but hopefully players still feel like, hey, I still have all my money. I still feel respected because all my accomplishments are there, and people can see, what a baller I was in Smite as I enter this new generation of a better Smite.
Two questions left, I promise. But this is a personal curiosity because I really do enjoy Smite 1. But then finding out this update that Smite 1 and Smite 2 are both going to continue to live on as is. So can you explain how that's going to work? These two games progress somewhat separately.
Yeah, I can start. The Smite 1 development team is separate than the Smite 2 development team, and you can see it even in the patch notes show today. They were talking about item changes that don't immediately apply to Smite 2 because Smite 2 we're rebuilding the foundation. So we actually share some design changes that we came up independently from each other. So if you notice, like, there's teleporters that are in the Smite 2 maps, and what is the Smite 1 team adding? Teleporters, but their behavior is completely different, and where they teleport to and go from and to is completely different. So we intend to continue to do that. Smite 1 is a game that we love, and they're continue to be passionate. The content that we're creating in Smite 1 will also be available in Smite 2. So even the content that we're creating on Smite 1 will convert to Smite 2, but they're creating the content in the Smite 1 Smite 1 game with the intention of it transferring, but all the design choices that they're making won't necessarily be relevant. If they change how Amir's wall works in Smite 1, we will still treat Smite 2 Amir completely different.
I think for us, the reason why it was so important to keep Smite 1 going, right, is that there are a lot of people who play Smite 1 who are on Xbox One, they're on PlayStation 4, they're on an older PC, right? And we want to make sure that they can still keep playing Smite and be a part of the Smite community, even if they aren't ready to upgrade to the current generation of consoles, right? And also, we want to make sure that if you want to play your favorite god that isn't in Smite 2 yet, if you love some old skin that we weren't able to port to Smite 2 and you want to keep playing it, you can do that. And, Smite 2 feels very Smitey, right? It's a similar game, right? But I am certain there'll be some people who like the way Smite 1 plays better. And if you like the way Smite 1 plays better, we want to make sure that you can keep playing that game, right? We just want you to be a part of this community, whether you choose Smite 1 or Smite 2, though we hope most people will choose to move to Smite 2 because it's pretty cool. So.
I'm so sorry. Are you guys good on time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just really curious because when it comes to this split too, we were talking earlier how is there any concern about this being like a RuneScape? RuneScape 3 and Old School are very much separate games, and it's very noticeable, right? They're ran completely differently as well. Content and everything is just so different. Are you guys at all concerned about splitting the player base, or is that something you're welcoming with full arms, realizing that very well could be and could still be successful?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I think that the rollout of Smite 2 is going to be relatively gradual, right? So, at first, when we first go into alpha, it'll be up on the weekends, like 1 weekend a month. And then from there, once the game gets to a good point, it'll be more 24/7, right? And then eventually it'll go free to play, right? But we see it as kind of a gradual transition where most people will move over to Smite 2, but they'll move over when they're ready. When they think the game is ready for them, when it has the gods that they want. So I guess in the short term, yes, we understand that the player base will be split, but we think over time, more and more people will choose to move to Smite 2. I think that that's okay for us. I think the other thing is the two games are trying to be, what am I trying to say? In RuneScape, I love RuneScape. We did a crossover with RuneScape. You can play with RuneScape skins in Smite. I think that they changed a lot from old school RuneScape to RuneScape 3, right? And appeal to a different kind of player. I think that both Smite and Smite 2 are going to appeal to a very similar player, so you're more likely to want to move to a Smite 2, most likely.
And really, just if I can touch on that, we've had how many players? 40 million players play Smite over the course of the lifetime, and the game has grown to a roster that is now 130 gods with the next one released. And with Smite 2, it's an opportunity to recapture a lot of new players, or some of the players that have played Smite before and lapsed, and now maybe it's a little too daunting to get into Smite right now. Smite 2 will be a perfect reset, a smaller roster of gods as they first initially get into the game. And if you really love playing Opwash, right, and he's not in Smite 2 yet, then Smite 1's still available for you, and you'll continue to play that until Opwash makes his way into Smite 2. Yeah.
For each of you, what are you looking forward to most for Smite 2 when it's finally here?
Someone else.
He's got to think about it. About it.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is seeing everyone's reaction as each character comes out and us going through that development cycle. I'm a god designer, combat designer by default, so like that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited. And getting a chance to look at each character holistically and seeing what we can do to make them better, make their quality of life feel improvement, or like have improvements. Things like Chalk's axe being able to be re-hit so that it destroys. That's something that doesn't happen in Smite 1 that now happens in Smite 2. All those little things we can do to make those characters just feel so much better. That's the kind of stuff that I'm really looking to kind of geek out on, and I just can't wait to be able to do that for every character in the cast.
Yeah, and I think I'm excited about the starting point, but I'm more excited for where the project goes and how the game evolves from there, right? So a very specific gameplay feature. There's now an interact button in Smite that you can use to interact with the map. So there's a new way to contest objectives and do certain things, like you can open a gate or various things. And this single button has opened up so many interesting gameplay twists that our environment art team has been playing with. And even just the first few are amazing. And I'm thinking back to, man, do you remember ugly Smite 10 years ago with broccoli trees and how it didn't have half the stuff we have now? And I'm like, man, can you imagine what they're going to do with the interact button in another, year or two, let alone 10? I just think there's the foundation is so much stronger that where we can take this game, it really does feel like, the sky's the limit, right? Are we going to be Fortnite? No. But can we be the best version of Smite? Hell yeah. And I'm so excited about it.
I think I changed my answer to that one.
Sorry, I get
I don't know. The reason why I passed the mic is it's a struggle for me. I feel like I'm almost never content, and so when you ask that question, it makes me struggle a little bit to think about what would make me excited and what would make me feel like we've done it. I want to be there one day, and I don't think even through all of Smite's development and even so far at SWC. We were showing Smite 2 today, and am I excited? I mean, yes, but I know that there's so much work ahead of me that I just want to go back and get to work, and I want to. There's so many things that I'm watching people play today, and I'm like, oh man, I want to go and change those things. So, I want to feel excited one day, but let me just take on all the burden of just always wanting more because it's never complete. So. Maybe if you ask me again in the future, I can share an answer that something I'm excited about. But as soon as players get their hands on this game, I want to be thinking about the next thing and what we can do next and what things we can make better. So, hopefully maybe that happens, sometime maybe next year when we go into a full release or we get more players into the game. But I don't think I'm ever going to be content.
That was incredible. Thank you all. That was great.
Thank you.